So you see my sweatshirt, Dan? Suffering from baseball withdrawal. It's true. It's true year round. But right now I'm so done with the Bears that I've moved on to craving my favorite sport.
We've got a long way until spring training, don't we? A long way.
A long way. He is Dan Weeder from the Chicago Tribune. I'm Deanne Miller from ABC 7, here for our bye-week breakdown of the very broken Chicago Bears.
It's a great way to put it. I mean, broken, stuck, lost, whatever adjective you want to attach to it, it's just keeps getting worse, or it keeps staying the same, which makes it feel worse. And I don't know where they go from here. They went from 5-1 to 5-5, which we saw as a possibility back when they were stealing games that they probably had no business winning. But it's the way they've gotten there, Deion, that's just been so discouraging, because not only are they not improving, they're getting worse. And every time you think they hit rock bottom, they figure out a way to free fall from rock bottom.
Yeah.
149 yards, Deion, of offense.
They had -2 yards in the third quarter.
Right.
-2. Like, how do you get worse? And here's the problem I see with all of it, Dan, is that I don't know that they have the answers either. Like, they keep saying, Nagy keeps saying the same thing. We're self-scouting. We're going to really dig into each. You've said that for 5 weeks, sir. Like,
no.
At what point do you say, I honestly, they don't know where to go from here either.
Longer than 5 weeks, Deion. I went back into November 2019 and pulled up very similar quotes about this team is going to stay together. We're going to fight. It's the only way we know how to do things is keep fighting. Look, my argument to that is great. I'm very happy that you guys have this unity and this togetherness and the solution-oriented culture. It's worth something. But it's got to stop being used as an airbag to lessen the blow of a gnarly accident. The better solution is stop getting in so many accidents, right, that deploy the airbag and just drive the car. And so it's just become so redundant. I know we keep updating stats. I'm going to give you 2 more that I know depress the entire world as we continue to go forward. Monday night was the 20th time since the start of 2018 that they didn't score a touchdown in the first half. 20 times in 43 games that they haven't scored a first half touchdown. And this year, we've talked about the third quarter before. It's not just the third quarter. It's the first, the second, and the third quarter. They have headed in to the fourth quarter with an average of 9.9 points through 10 games. They can't even get to 10 points in the first 3 quarters of an NFL football game in 2020. And meanwhile, a defense that's playing playoff football, a defense that's ready to win, a special teams unit, which, oh, by the way, now is making kicks left and right and is getting touchdowns from their kick returner, is being squandered. It cannot be anything less than frustrating for all those that are inside Hallis Hall right now.
They're cleaning my gutters right now, and that noise of that is how I feel like a Bears game is, right? That buzz of like the same. It's so annoying to see the same stuff again and again and again and not be able to see any progress. And honestly, like, when Foles gets carted off, thank God it's not as serious as they thought, but you're watching him get carted off and you're thinking, oh my gosh, we really are looking at Tyler Bray. Like that's really where we're at right now. And that's, how did they get here? And it's a really sad state of affairs, Dan, when a winless Jets team is considered in a better position than a 5-5 Bears team. Like,
right. Just because the Jets may be able to blow everything up and then pick their hand-selected quarterback in April without any competition in doing so. It's really crazy. I will say a couple things. Number one, hopefully fans got enough of a glimpse of Tyler Bray in 5 passes Monday night to realize, okay, this is not exactly what we wanted. So just move that out of your thought process immediately. You and I have been in training camp the last few years. We can tell you Tyler Bray is not the answer to fixing this offense. So just let's put that away. But now you have to have this discussion going into next week when they resume at Hallis Hall on, do you go back to Trubisky? Do you stick with Nick Foles? How healthy is either one of them? Your top 2 quarterbacks are both dealing with significant injuries right now, and you got to go play the division leaders on prime time up in Green Bay. And oh, by the way, they're scoring 30+ every week. Good luck.
Another prime time stage to look even more inept than they have already. And coming out of a bye week where you'd think something would change, and you and I both know nothing is going to. Like, honestly, I if it does, I would be stunned. I mean, stunned. We should wager something, because I want to owe you something grand for them to win, because I don't think that they will. And they are going to lose 5 in a row. And then what do you do? Because I mean, Foles is not the answer. Trubisky is not the
Exactly.
answer. Deshaun Kaiser is not the answer. At least I don't think so.
No,
but
he's not. But I want to. I'm glad you brought that up because the Bears are going to bring him in for a workout, and naturally that sends social media into a craze, right? Oh my God, they think Deshaun Kaiser's the answer. No, they don't think Deshaun Kaiser's the answer. They have two quarterbacks who are broken right now, and they've got to go play at least one football game, in 13 days and 5 more beyond that. And so you got to make sure that you at least have a competent quarterback, on your sideline at some point, just in case, right? And so don't think that this is like, oh, we're going to go out and we're going to reach and we're going to think this is the long-term answer. No one at Halas Hall is thinking that way. It's just a way to make sure that you don't get left in a situation where you lose 56-0 with a guy who can't play the position at this level. The Trubisky conversation is interesting to me because Matt said on Tuesday, the morning after the loss, that when you lose 4 in a row, everything's on the table. And so they have to consider whether the offense is better suited with Mitch on the field. Now, the flip side to this conversation, which I know is exhausting and it means nothing and it all leads to the same dead end, is if you're Mitch Trubisky and you are at a point in your contract year where you're playing as much for 2021 Mitch Trubisky as you are for the 2020 Chicago Bears, then consider the following things. You're dealing with an injury to your throwing shoulder. The last 2 years, when you dealt with shoulder injuries, the game that you came back was one of the ugliest of your season. 2018 against the Rams, 2019 against the Saints. Now you're being asked to go to Green Bay to play a Packers team that, as we talked about, scores 30 every single week. And you're going to try to keep up with that with the national spotlight on you while you're playing for your next contract. I mean, if you're Mitch, you're saying, yeah, it still feels a little bit tight. And maybe the next week when the Lions come to town, I kind of like playing the Lions. Maybe that's when it finally feels like I can put the zip on the ball that I need to have.
I mean, the emotions that he must be feeling and the thoughts that must be going through his brain, because not only that, obviously, but he's also not the kind of guy to do that. He's the kind of guy that say, look, the team needs me. I'm just going to swallow my pride and I'm going to come back in and do what they need me to do. And yet Mitch is feeling so many different things right now because he got benched. So there's that, like, I don't want to come back in for a team that didn't want me to begin with. I mean, we've all been in that position where you're like, you don't want me around? Well, then see ya. I don't want to do that. And he can't do that. He's also not the type of guy, though, to say, I'm not ready. If he really is, like he's not the grudge guy. You know what I mean? He's not that type of person. I think he would swallow his pride and come back in. I really do. And knowing that also would reflect on his career. No?
This is the first time in his life, really, that he's had to make a business decision, right? And Mitch, you've talked to him from the time he was in high school until now, and you realize that he is a 17-year-old at heart who just loves playing football with his friends, right? And he says it all the time. I just love playing with the guys. So that part of him is going to want to get back on the field, but he's going to have advice from outside that says, listen, from a business standpoint, we've got to set you up for the best possible long-term setup for your career. And maybe that isn't coming back and being embarrassed behind a terrible offensive line, which I didn't mention a few minutes ago, on national television against the Packers. I've said it a few times this week. I can already hear Chris Collinsworth's voice in my ear going, Al, it's really disappointing what's happened to the Chicago Bears, isn't it? And the entire city of Chicago having to live that again, this national pity party for, boy, it's just such a shame that they can't ever figure it out. And here they are again, marching to the end of a losing season.
Yeah, well, and I don't know how it got this far off the rails. Ryan Pace said every year we should draft a quarterback and we should address these issues, and they have addressed them. They've rebuilt, they've fired coaches, they've rebuilt the tight end room, they've brought in a veteran quarterback, and they can't get it together. They can't make actual progress offensively. It's devastating and embarrassing. And how does a defense that is built for Super Bowl success not get frustrated and not say, this is not what we signed up for?
This is the most valid point, because if you're Matt Nagy, you have to understand, as you enjoy your bye weekend, that when you come back for these last 6 games, it's not just about getting this thing back on the rails. It's about understanding that the urgency to turn this thing around may be more serious than you thought, that the pressure may be more severe and significant than you thought, that your job may be at stake if you don't find some answers. If they continue to play games like Monday night and gain less than 200 yards and lose to an inferior defense, and you limp to the finish line at 6-10, 7-9, even 8-8, there's going to be a loud outcry for change in the Chicago world. And it's up to George McCaskey to determine what to do with that. And so Matt has to understand that the pressure is there now, and you have no more time, and you have no more excuses, and you can't change quarterbacks and overhaul the tight end room and change your coaching staff and revise this, that, and the other thing and still have the same results and say, trust me, I've got this, right? And so that's where they head into this home stretch with so much on the line for so many people, because you fire one coach, you fire 10 coaches. You fire one general manager, you're firing a building full of scouts. And so there is a lot at stake for everyone in that building. And they have to understand that you've got to figure out a way to get anything out of your offense. And again, I go back to Monday night. They didn't even need to be below average Monday night to win that football game. They needed one touchdown drive. One touchdown drive. That's it. They could have been terrible.
They would have won the game with a touchdown.
They would have won one game. And so that's the type of stuff that's inexcusable. It's unacceptable. And they've got to figure out where they go. To your other point, there are a lot of guys right now playing playoff worthy football. Roquan Smith, if this team was 8-2 right now, would be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. He's playing that well. Cairo Santos has made, I think it's 14 consecutive kicks right now, field goals. The Bears haven't had a stretch of 14 consecutive made field goals since 2015, right? He's playing at a high level. You got guys that are doing what they need to do to position this team to be in the playoffs. And, Eddie Jackson spoke up both in the locker room and on Zoom after Monday night's game and said that, doing what he should do, a commendable show of leadership to try to rally guys, to try to keep guys together, to try and provide that energy that keeps them up during a very demoralizing losing streak. But I ended the call with Eddie by saying, Eddie, no matter how much more passion you play with, no matter how much accountability there is, no matter how much this, that, or the other thing there is from a leadership standpoint, it doesn't fix the one thing that has broken you for 2 years, and it's a terrible, failing offense. And so if you're on the defensive side of the ball, you can't control what's ultimately going to drown your season.
No, you can't. And who is most responsible for this situation? But I think it starts with Ryan Pace, of course, but I can't see them replacing a GM and leaving Nagy there. And I can't see them firing Nagy and not Pace. I feel like you're right. The pressure's on both of them. Like this is it. This is where you show if you deserve another chance. Do you let Pace draft again? Do you let him hire a third head coach? Like I don't know. And I know, but I do know this. Virginia, George, their patience is thin. Okay. Like I do know Virginia hates losing. She hates it. And this is it. And especially on national television,
right?
Word, like she to the Packers,
right?
Things might go all topsy-turvy if that happens in however many days the way it is.
So think about that, Deanne, because 2014, the Bears went up to Lambeau Field. Aaron Rodgers threw 6 touchdown passes in the first half. The season was already wayward at that point, but that was the moment where the folks as high up the food chain as you can get at House all said, this is embarrassing. We are humiliated. We are down 42-0 at halftime on primetime to our rival. And that was the night where it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that there was going to be a house cleaning when the season ended. Last year, the Bears go into the 2019 season with these grand expectations and everyone in the city of Chicago believing that the Super Bowl was within reach. And it came off the rails in the first game of the season when they didn't score a touchdown and lost 10-3 to the Packers on primetime in the kickoff game with everyone watching. So when you have these moments where your failures and your incompetence are under that light where the rest of the league is watching you and saying, again, Chris Collinsworth, oh boy, I can't believe we're dealing with this again. Right. It adds to the level of embarrassment and humiliation. And again, this is going to wind up on George McCaskey's to-do list on January 3rd or 4th or whenever it is. And he's going to have to say, what do we do? And he's going to have to provide answers that are satisfactory to a giant fan base that has stuck with them through thick and thin for 30 years.
I know. And I feel like the change has to come. I feel like it does. Even if they would, don't you think even if they win 3 more games, 4 more games, what are we looking at? 8-8 again? Like that's yuck. It's lukewarm. It's gross. It's not progress. It's not consistently winning. It's not showing that you're right there. Like there's nothing that indicates that they're right there.
And it's not just 8-8, right? It's the way you got to 8-8. And we've watched it. We've watched it. There's no progress. And so you stamp the headline on it, stuck. The Chicago Bears, stuck. And that's where they are.
I should call Obvious Shirts to make a shirt that says Chicago Bears, stuck. Because that's the truth. It's so obvious that they are stuck. They have to make huge changes.
We'll sell them to all our loyal subscribers.
We will. Maybe Obvious would sponsor us.
By the way, if you're not a loyal subscriber, click that subscribe button right now. We need all the following we can get. We want to keep bringing you these videos. So subscribe. It's an order.
Subscribe. And as another podcast I love says, love your neighbor as yourself. Share it with a friend. Let somebody know that we are breaking down a bad team.
No doubt about it. So I'm going to go clean the shed. I'm going to go clean my garage. I'm going to put up Christmas lights this weekend. I hope you take advantage of the bye week and get away from all this miserable conversation that we've been having for a month and a half. And hopefully eventually we'll come back and we'll talk about something cheerier.
That sounds great.
Enjoy it.